Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different to the usual content that you see on this channel. I'm just going to lay back, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to talk to you guys about the Cadillac, because a lot of people out there don't necessarily know what is going on with this car, why it's such a big deal, and why I sort of have lusted over this car for so long. And I think there's been, you know, around 130,000 subscribers have come to the channel after me actually physically getting rid of that car. I think I got rid of that car at around 25,000 subscribers. So there's a lot of people out there that don't really know the story and understand why some 19-foot dodgy painted car means so much. So I thought I'd take you through from square one, the day where it all went down, all the way through to a couple of days ago when I actually picked the car up, because there's a lot of people asking many questions about the car, and there's a lot of OGs out there that remember the car from way back, me driving it to car shows and stuff, and then subsequently selling it to actually fund what I physically do now, which is YouTube for a living and my clothing brand FYD Apparel. So there's a lot of questions and a lot of sort of unanswered topics on the whole car that I really need to go through. As you can see, there's actually a skateboard. Still got the film on it so you can't quite see because of the lighting, but there is actually a skateboard with that car on the bottom. I bought this in 2015. That's how long I've sort of had this car, lusted over it, got rid of it, and then looked at it every day, because this is literally above my my desk at FYD, so I've looked at this every day and gone, mate, I understand, but yeah. So let's go from square one. So in 2014, I bought this car. In 2013, I was working at a mystery shopper car place. It was a very strange place. And basically, you would mystery shop car dealerships. I got into the job thinking that it would be all cars and it'd be fun and all this sort of stuff. It was terrible. Terrible. 0 hours contract, and the pay was crap, and I just remember being like, you know, 22, 23 at the time, thinking, well, regardless of the situation that I'm in, I'm still going to try and save for something, I'm still going to try and do something, because I gathered at the time I couldn't actually physically go and insure a big American classic car until I was 25. Now this might have changed now. When I looked back then, it was 25 was sort of the cut-off for all of the cars with the big engines and, you know, the more valuable stuff. That was sort of the cut-off and the sort of acceptance age to actually get into one of these big old cars. That might have changed now, but at the time, we're talking 7 years ago, say now, when I started really delving into buying one of these, you know, big monstrosity cars, how I would go and insure it and how much it would be. So after doing some sort of quotes on cars that were on eBay at the time, I noticed that there was a trend where the cars were, you didn't have to have loads of years, no claims. Most of them came with crazy things like windscreen cover and stuff. They were around £200, £300. At the time, I think I did own one of my first Lexus GS300s, and that was like £800, £900 a year to insure. And I thought, well, this is like cheap motoring at the end of the day. You get to own this car, which is like some crazy big thing. The tax is free, the insurance is cheap, and it would just be running it and fixing it and, you know, MOTing it every year. So I thought that was a really good sort of start. Me overcoming the idea that this would be an expensive ongoing thing, like you would buy a performance car. It's very expensive to keep that monthly, drive it around every day. You don't really drive this around every day. So I sort of thought, well, even if I do buy it and I get myself into one, it's not going to be too much for me to actually maintain and keep on top of it. Even if I don't drive it, it's not going to cost me a lot of money on the monthly basis, you know, 6 monthly or yearly. So I started looking into various cars. Impalas were really what I wanted. I just couldn't afford one though. They are so expensive, and even today 63, 64 Impala is silly money. So I'm still in a position now where I probably won't want to afford one of those anytime soon. So I started looking at Cadillacs. I'd always lusted for some big Cadillac. There's something about it, and I can't quite explain it to some people, but there's something about that era, especially the 60s, where, you know, design was at its peak. Fins were on the back of cars. Cars were big. It was a statement. The engines were massive. There was no sort of laws or like restrictions as to what was going on. These cars were being facelifted and physically changed every year. That's how much money was actually being put into these cars on a yearly basis. The 66, the 64 and the 65 were completely different to the 66. There wasn't a lot of, you know, same grills and same this and same that. They pretty much changed every year. And then into 67, everything slanted, it was different, the body was different. So, you know, going back in that sense to a car being manufactured and designed and stuff, they were changing that car every year. And there's something that it just fascinates me that was going on at the time. You know, you look at your Audis and stuff, and they're facelifting stuff every 3-4 years, and you know, it's not the biggest facelift in the world, and you could just put the headlights on, you know, a pre-facelift car and make it a facelift. This wasn't the same scenario back then, so I sort of love that for it, and the design cues and stuff. But we'll go around the car in a future video. But I started looking at Cadillacs. As you can hear, I had a fascination about them anyway. The 60s was car design heaven, in my opinion. You got Mustangs and everything. Anyway, so started looking, and the Coupe de Ville was really always the car that you would hear about in songs when I was growing up. I was like, well, Coupe de Ville would be cool, but you want a coupe, you don't want a four-door. I don't really want a convertible because I want to drive it. You know, if it does start raining, I'm not going to worry about putting an old top up. So started looking at Cadillacs, and every week I sort of, you know, go through the motions of looking wherever I could. There wasn't too many out there, and I accidentally fell on the 66 Coupe de Ville that I have now, and I had back then. It was on eBay, and it was bidding, and I contacted the seller after saving. I think I'd saved for around 11 months at this point, not thinking that I'd be able to buy that certain car for the amount of money that I had saved at the time, with no complete disregard of getting it home, getting the ferry home. I put all of my money into physically getting this thing. I paid my bills that month, and I was like, oh, if we don't, like, you know, get paid next month, we're like, I'm short on the rent big time. Anyway, we did it anyway. I was just like, no, we're doing it. So I contacted the seller, and it was bidding up, and I was just like, what's the buy it now price? You know, what is it? And he came up with a figure, a really, really sweet figure. And at the time, I think I could just about get there. And I pulled some, you know, strings and stuff, and I asked for some money from parents or whoever it was at the time. You know, a couple £100 here and there, just to get the boat back, I think, more than anything. And we went over, and I did a bit of haggling. The car started, but it was, you know, flat battery and all that sort of stuff. It was on air ride. It was, you know, not necessarily running and driving, but it could run and drive. It was a running project, let's say. So I actually had a couple of friends come with me, and we fixed the air ride pump by the side of the road next to the mate's house, plumbed it in, the car aired up after buying it, and I just remember thinking, what have I done? Like, what is going on here? It aired up, and I was just like, as it started, it's like blah, 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 the burble from that V8, and yeah, we aired it up, and I remember driving it off his driveway, and I had my mate in the passenger seat this way, and I was like, right, I've just driven down the road in Lymington, it was, south of England, and I knew the road coming out was really, really tight, and I'm in this 19-foot long, like 6.5, 7 foot wide Cadillac, never driven anything left-hand drive in my entire life, and I was just like, right, we're gonna have to get this thing out of here. I'm not really sure how we're gonna be able to do this, but can you come in the passenger seat so you can sort of assess the situation from that side of the car? Because if you ever see this car in person, it is enormous. So to be in a passenger seat, you are sort of on the front line of all the other cars coming the other way. So we pull out a driveway, driving down the road, and car's just coming towards me, and I just remember like being so close to the hedge, and he was like, mate, you're over the white line, and I'm like, mate, I know, but like I can't get any further over because this car is so wide. But we made it to the ferry, and I remember taking some of the first pictures of it completely aired out at the Yarmouth to Lymington White Link ferry, and that picture of when it dropped, and it's just stanced out, sat on its arse, like, it just looked so good. And at that point I was just like, that was the oh my god point. The lead up to it wasn't really like, I was just like, yeah, let's hustle, let's get this sort of thing. Yeah, seeing it at that point, I was just like, bloody hell. I even left the car running for about, I think it was about half an hour I left it running, because I wanted to make sure the air ride tank was filled up. We were playing with it, we were just making sure everything was running. I didn't want to turn it off and, you know, it not start again and all that. At that point, a White Link Ferry guy came over and told me to turn it off, and I told him to go away because I was like, in the midst of excitement, I was like, mate, I can't turn it off. He's like, you have to turn it off. I was like, no, I'll turn it off on the boat, and if it doesn't start the other side, then we'll just push it off. Anyway, it started either side, which was good. We were happy. But yeah, driving that thing home, it was a big accomplishment for me to actually physically be driving and insuring something of that magnitude at the time. I was 25. It was I think it was a couple of weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks after my 25th birthday, I actually physically bought this car. And yeah, I just could not believe I'd done it. And in fact, on the way home, down Forest Road on the Isle of Wight, it turned off. It just literally just turned off. And I was just like, oh. So we left it for a bit, and it, you know, jump pack started up again. So we got through those niggles initially, and then it was relatively reliable after that. The distributor on them seems to be really close to the engine, so it gets really hot, and then sometimes it doesn't start. So, but that's something we'll get into, because I do want to change where that is to make it more reliable. So yeah, this is say 2014, 2015 this happened. So we own the car, you know, I'm enjoying it. FYD hasn't even started yet, and it was towards the end of 2014 to start, you know, 2015. I decided that the clothing brand I wanted to be, you know, doing what I want to do for a living, which is the brand. So I made the brand. I made the brand before the channel. Not a lot of people don't really know that, but I sort of thought, yeah, let's go for it. I've always loved clothing. The Cadillac could sort of be like the car that, you know, exposes it all, and it could be really cool with a sticker up the side. And then, you know, initially I did put a sticker up the side of the car. We took it to players. It was literally the sickest thing ever to see that with my brand on the side. That literally I'd sold about 5 t-shirts at the time, but I was still working at this mystery shopping company thing. I then fell out with the guy that was our team leader, because he did nothing but got paid more than everyone else. And I'm the sort of guy that doesn't really like people out in life. If you work hard, you should be rewarded. This guy didn't work hard, but he did get rewarded, so he sacked me. I told him one day, mate, like, I can't believe that you're still employed, although you do actually nothing. It's hilarious. And I was like, you know, having a laugh, but I was sort of saying, like, you know, pick up your feet because everyone else is. And yeah, the next week he gave me 4 hours. The week after he gave me 0 hours. And the week after he called me in to fire me. So I left and said, you know what, fine, whatever, it's cool. So at that point, I decided that, you know, with no job and everything, stuff needs to go. So at the time I had a Porsche Cayenne. And you guys remember, or may not remember, way back now, that car was probably one of the first, if not the first car that actually came to the channel as a review or an owner's review or whatever it was at the time. And that car was then subsequently sold to, you know, pay some debts off, to pay the rent off, the council tax, all the boring stuff that you do when you're an adult. And it's now 2015 or mid 2015, and I decided, right, if we're going to do this, the clothing company, the YouTube, let's go. So I'm not going to find another job. Although I was looking, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sell everything. So we've withdrawed from the flat that I was renting. Lovely little flat, worked my ass off to get it, but we were renting it. So I pulled out of that. I sold my fridge. I sold my bed at the time. I sold I sold everything, like everything, just to get by, just to pay my phone bill, just to keep stuff going. Sold the car, the Cayenne at the time. It was around, I think I got about 5 grand for that. At the time, it wasn't an expensive car. I think I said in the video years ago how cheap they are. They're not cheap to run, don't get me wrong, but it was a good laugh. I would have another one, they're awesome cars. Anyway, yeah, so I got to that point and I was sleeping on my mum's sofa, 2015, and I sort of thought, everything has gone now. Everything that I've really worked for has gone, except for the Cadillac. That was the thing. The Cadillac was still there. That was the point where I started to think, can I seriously, in my head, think that running a business, or starting to run a business at least, with a 7-foot Cadillac on the driveway is the right thing to do? And I lied to myself, I think, for a really long time, thinking it was a good idea. And then 2016 sort of rolled in. You know, the channel wasn't, you know, paying me at all. It didn't for years. It's only really just recently been able to actually pay my bills at the end of the day, and you know, the clothing was going good, but you know, you can't pull loads of money out of there because you won't be able to do anything more with it, so you've got to keep, you know, funding it. So the car was the last thing to go. And you guys, you know, if you've seen the Cadillac video, you'll see sort of the desperation on my face trying to make it okay, sort of thing. And I sold the car to fund what I do now, which is, you know, t-shirts. I did loads of research. We did, you know, branding, artwork. I bought new cameras. Like, it was such a good idea. It was the right thing to do as a business. Personally, worst day of my life. I literally, after working my arse off in a crappy job, had to sell the one thing I actually cared about at the time. That was the hardest pill to swallow. And I think if anybody else out there has been in that situation where you've had to give up something that you've worked really hard for because that is what you have to do, you'll sort of understand that it is, your head is saying, yes, you are doing the right thing, and then part of you saying, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this at the same time. And I know there's a lot of people out there that be like, oh, you sell cars though, and blah, blah. But this is sort of how it all works. That car funded the camera that I'm videoing this on. That car funded Trip from a genuine point of view, that money was funding other things. You weren't just selling it because you didn't like it. You funded it from that car sale. So that was a really, really not a very good day. It was a really, and like, even 6 months after, I was like, I can't believe I've done that. Literally can't believe I've done that. Still messaging the guy, you know, that bought it. Shout out, won't leave his, you know, name or anything anywhere, but you know, he's a really good lad. He took it home, drove it round for a few months to a couple of car shows because I sold it in the summer, and pulled the engine out of it. Now, this is where it sort of rolls on to where I am now. So the engine came out in, say, 2016, end of 2016, right? I saw a picture of the engine coming out in 2016 on Instagram. I said to him, mate, I can't believe you're doing what I wanted to do. I didn't have the money to do it whatsoever, but well done for rebuilding the engine. It needed it. It's a 50-year-old car. It needs to be done at some point. So yeah, he pulled it out, got the engine rebuilt, and I didn't hear anything from it. And I was just like, oh, bloody hell, I wonder if he got it running. And we're about a year after I sold the car now. So say we're end of 2016, start of 2017. Channel's going well, still not funding stuff, couldn't just go and, you know, physically buy this car back even if it was for sale, which it wasn't. And I left him a message. I said, mate, if you ever want to sell it, please give me like 6 months notice at the time. I said, just give me like as much notice as you can, because I'd love to buy it back and not be like financially strained to actually buy this thing back and not have to like go and physically build the engine again and do this and do that. So I left that message. That was exactly 3.5 years ago. So yeah, 3.5 years ago, I messaged him. I think it was on Facebook at the time, because I still had his, I added him as a friend, obviously, to follow the car. Didn't hear anything about it for, you know, it must have been a good 6 months after I initially saw that picture. Saw a picture of the car, and yeah, that was 3.5 years ago from this December. And I started saying to him, like, you know, if you want to sell it, let me know. He said no, never selling it. I was like, oh, typical. Anyway, I'm in no financial position to buy it back, but please let me know. He's like, yeah, that's right. And then I actually looked through the other day, and I went through the Facebook chat, and it was probably every 6 months on the dot I asked him if the car was for sale and if he'd want to sell it back. Still no, sometimes not even getting back to me because I must have pestered him so much. Like, yeah, it's just one of those things, like, if you feel like you need to go and get that again, because it is more than the car, you try, don't you? So I kept on saying no. So I think it was December the 8th, it must have been. I get a random message on Instagram, you know, because I try and check my social media as much as I can. And he said, hello mate, basically a lot has changed in my life, you know, things are happening, blah blah, I'm gonna sell the car. I thought I'd give you first refusal because you've messaged me multiple times about it. And thankfully, I'm currently in a position now where I was saving for other things anyway. Not once did I think that saving would be going into buying that car back. So yeah, really just like, I stopped and breathed and went, hold on a minute. So let's just put things into perspective. So I could be, hopefully, you know, in a financial position to actually buy my ultimate car, my dream ultimate forever car back because this car won't be sold. The only reason it was sold the first time is because I didn't have a job, I couldn't pay my bills, I literally couldn't get myself out of debt because I'd sold everything else and that was the last thing to go. Now on the other side of it, I was in a financial position where I could just go and buy it, and that was literally the biggest wake-up call I've ever had in my entire life. And like, I pressure all of you guys, even the people that leave nasty comments, dislikes on videos like 10 seconds into them going up, which I still don't understand. Like, I'm here for a good time, and I'm here for everybody to go and chase what they class as their dreams and their goals. And this is the reality. Giving up something that you worked your, years for, you enjoyed, and then you had to give up because financially you physically couldn't move forward with that thing in your life, whatever it is, house, car, whatever it is. For then, 4.5 years after I initially sold it to be able to go and buy it back, like at the drop of a hat, is the biggest achievement in my life. I think physically getting the car back hasn't settled yet. It hasn't really kicked in. I'm videoing this just after Christmas, and it still hasn't hit me that that's what's happened full circle. And this isn't a brag. This isn't a like, oh, look at me, I was able to drop, some money on a car straight away. It isn't about that. It's about the idea that you had to give up something that meant the world to you to put yourself through your dream job to go and then one day financially, with no worries, go and get that car back. And it isn't just down to cars, it's down to, it could be something more personal than that, people, whatever it is. But like, that's the sort of general thing what I want to put over on this video is like, the reality is from day one when I first thought, no, I'm gonna go buy a Cadillac, I didn't think I was gonna go and buy a Cadillac. I then drove it home, drove it around for 2 years, lost everything in the process to start YouTube, to start the brand, for me then to kick myself for literally 4.5 years going, why did I do that? Why? And then going, well, of course you did, because now you can travel to go and do cars, you've bought a new camera, you can, financially you're a little bit more stable, you've paid your bills off, you've paid your credit card, whatever it is, for then you to be in a better position in your head and in life, to even have somewhere to park it on my driveway. Like, that is just like mind blown that I'm able to physically go outside and sit on my driveway. It will be getting a big cover, and I do want to build a new garage in the next few years, because again, forever car, I have a forever house now, so that's something that I would like to do. But yeah guys, I hope that sheds a little bit more light into why that Cadillac means so much to me. I understand it. If you step yourself away from it being a Cadillac and being an old car, there must be something in your life that you've done the same sort of thing with, or it's coming. There will always be something, whether it is, something else you care about, set of golf clubs, whatever. There is something in your life that pushes you. That car was what pushed me before to stay in a crappy job and build up the money to go and buy it in the first place, and then run it round, because driving a 7-litre car around is really expensive if you actually drive it. It's not if you don't. And then to like give it up and then have to sell it and then come back like years later. Like you're so much of a different position in your head, and you're so much more grateful, and you cherish the time because you realise how bad it could actually be, where you're watching a car drive off that you waited so long for to build up this, however much money it was, and to enjoy, and then the realization to sell it and then be in the position to buy it back with somewhere to park it is like, yeah lads, that's a really, really big deal. And I understand a lot of people out there won't understand why it's a big deal. They won't understand why this means the world to you, and oh, another dream car you're going to sell in 2 months, and it really isn't like that. I'm really happy with all the cars I have at the moment, except for the RS3, but that always had a sale date when I bought it. It's just financially stupid to keep it longer. And I appreciate the people that from day one saw that car leave and then me go on about it, and then on Christmas Day see it on my driveway. Those guys, the people that have left nice comments and like the videos and stuff, they're the guys that really realise, and they're the guys I do it for. I don't do it for the people that leave nasty comments and stuff. I do it because at the end of the day we've gone full circle and we've been able to buy a massive like 3-ton 7-litre Cadillac back, which makes no sense, does it? Terrible for content, isn't it? Because no one cares. No one cares about a 7-litre Cadillac. But I hope you guys do, because in 2021 we will be doing some sort of build series on it. I won't be wrenching on it myself. I will say that from the start. And there'll be loads of people out there in all of the content stuff that I put out. Like, why are you not doing this? At the end of the day, I never want to hate that car, so I never want to work on it myself. And if you have built cars in the past, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All the nasty commenters out there have never built a car or done anything, so they won't understand it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. But thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up, a little bit more of a heads up on the Cadillac. It is back in the stable. 2021 is going to be just a mad year. I'm really excited to actually delve in on this car and, you know, produce content on it regardless of how well it does, because I haven't bought this for content creation. I've bought it to sort of document the full circle of my life, and then me being able to actually yeah, go and resurrect it and hopefully drive it around this summer. That would be nice. We shall see. But we'll do another video actually going around the car, explaining all of the defects and what's going on with the paint and the engine and stuff, because there was a lot of comments previously about that, so we'll do that when it's not raining and half snowing outside, because that's what it's doing at the moment. Anyway guys, enough blabbing. If you got to this point, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for just supporting me in any way. It means everything to me, and I'll happily see past all the negative comments and the dislikes for the genuine people out there that actually care. Always remember that. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.